going to do a segment that I call Off the Wall, but in the book. Here we go. In 1988, a city in Armenia was struck by an earthquake. Buildings were flattened and crumbled, and a dad who had recently dropped his son off at school runs back to the school and begins to dig through the pile of debris in hopes to find his son. People, onlookers, see this and know and believe there's no hope, but he doesn't stop. And so he does it for a few hours, and people try to stop him, but then he continues through the night till the 38th hour. He never stops. And in the middle of all doing that, he begins to hear a voice, and it's his son and others crying out for help. As the school had come down, they had fallen and left a little pocket for them to fall in. And this dad found his son and some of his friends. And his son said, "Dad, I knew that you would come for me. I knew you wouldn't quit." What an incredible picture, and all that's going on in life for this kid to be confident that he was safe because his dad was going to come from him and his character. We're going to look at Psalm chapter number 5 today, and who can go into the presence of his holy temple, and it ought to bring great comfort to us. We're not off the wall, but we are off the screen. It was too many verses for me to write on the wall today, but I love this psalm, and I believe you will as well, as a believer, recognizing the great privilege that we have to go. They say about the Psalms is that all the Bible speaks to us, but it says that the Psalm speaks for us. And David, writing the Psalm, we don't know what's going on in his life, but the words he writes could really represent prayers that we have at different times when you feel like all the world has come down upon you and you're just looking for some place of refuge to hide, and we can find that in our God. And so let's look at this together. Let's read. It says, "Here, give ear to my words, O Lord. Consider my meditations. Hearken to the voice of my cry, my King and my God. For unto thee will I pray. My voice shalt thou hear in the morning, O Lord. In the morning will I direct my prayer unto thee, and I will look up. For thou art not a God who has pleasure in wickedness, neither shall evil dwell in thee. The foolish shall not stand in thy sight. Thou hatest all workers of iniquity. Thou shalt destroy them that speak leasing. The Lord will abhor the bloody and the deceitful man." So here it says, "Hear me," is his first cry. He's saying, "Give ear to my words, O Lord." And he says, "Consider my meditation and my cry and my voice." David knew it wasn't because of the volume of his voice or the position that David had in life as king, but it was because of the character of God that God would allow him to come into worship in his temple and to be heard. He said, "I need you to hear me, my King and my God." Have you been in that situation before where you said, "I have to be heard by somebody. I need my King and my God to hear me"? David is in that situation. Then we get some understanding of what David knew about God in this passage where it says, "For thou art not a God that hath pleasure in wickedness." Just that statement, "For thou art not a God that, dot, dot, dot." You know, whatever is to come next would be David's understanding of who God is. And he says, "You're not a God who has pleasure in wickedness, and no evil will dwell in thee. The foolish shouldn't stand in your sight. You hate workers of iniquity, and those speak leasing, and the bloody man." And he lists all these things about God. And you'd think this would bring David to a point where it's just, I have no ability to come before God. I can't be heard by him. But David knew that God would hear him, that he could go before God. And what a great place to be at when you're at a place in life where you just need to cry out and say, "My God, my King," and David would be heard by him, not because of who David was, but because of God. And then that's what we get down into our next verse. He says, "Lead me." He says, "But as for me, I will come into thy house in the multitude of thy mercy, and in the fear which I worship towards thy holy temple." O Lord, in thy righteousness, because of mine enemies, make thy way straight before me. He's saying, lead me. First he said, listen to me. And now he's saying, lead me. Look at those 4 words. But as for me, I will come into thy house in the multitude of thy mercy. So, not that he is different than the other people that were listed, not that he hadn't killed men, not that he hadn't been deceitful at times, not had he not been foolish, and had he taken pleasure in wickedness that God doesn't, but because of the multitude of God's mercy, David was able to go before God. But as for me, I will come into your temple because of the multitude of your mercy. What a place we ought to be as believers to know that we can bow our head in prayer, no matter what's going on around us, that we can respond differently to it because we can enter into the temple. We can go before a holy God, one that hates sin, but he welcomes us. A God that hates sin in his presence will welcome us. Why? Because of the multitude of his mercy. And that's how David is going to get to enter in there before God into his presence. How wonderful as that he was able to say, but as for me. So he's not only said, listen to me, but then he says, lead me. And then next we'll see in verses 9 to 10, he's going to say, protect me. God casts out all those that only honor him with his mouth. This kind of gives some description of the type of people that David is dealing with. We don't know exactly the situation, but we know all through his life he has enemies. Saul wants to kill him. People are mad at him. He has many things coming at him. And he says, he calls out to God for protection. He says, protect me, for there is no faithfulness in their mouth. Their inward part is very wickedness. Their throat is an open sepulchre. They flatter with their tongue. Destroy thou them, O God. Let them by their fall their own counsels and cast them out in the multitude of their transgressions, for they have rebelled against thee. Destroy thou them. You know, in the Bible, we don't see exclamation marks, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't read the Bible with tons of exclamation marks. That emotion, whoever it is that's coming after David, whatever enemies are coming after him, are making his life miserable. They are people, their inward parts are wickedness. The Bible says there's a type of person that lays in bed at night and they toss back and forth. But it says that wanting to do evil. And David says, destroy thou them. But this is more than just this isn't a prayer of vengeance. He says, in the multitude of their transgressions. And you can see here the contrast between he comes in the multitude of God's mercy, but these people in a multitude of transgressions. But then he says that they have sinned against thee. And so David recognizes that these people are sinning against God. And that's what sin is. His hatred is not personal towards them, but they are people that are against the will of God. What a great way to put in perspective the enemies that you have in life. They are ultimately not sinning against you, but they're sinning against God of heaven, the God that we get to go to in the multitudes of his mercy. David didn't just get to go to God because he was the king of Israel in that privileged place, but as believers, we can go before the presence of God. It tells us in the book of Hebrews that because of the blood has covered us and the multitude of verses, we now can go boldly before him. And those that are giving you so much problem and all the problems of this life, they can't follow you into the presence of God. There's great protection there. The people that are pursuing David can chase him in the caves, and he never seems to get any rest from them, except when he goes into the presence of God. Those that they may worship God with their mouth, but they don't really love God, those people don't get to go into the presence of God, which he just encourages us. If you're trying to get escape, if you're trying to find some rest from the things going on in your life, you ought to go into the presence of God. One of my favorite songs as a teenager, I drive around in my Mercury Topaz. It was pink. It was red when my sister owned it. It became pink when I owned it, and faded. And it had a CD player, an anti-skip CD player in it. I play this one CD over and over again, and the song was "I Found a Place," and it would say, "I found a place that's where you are everything. I found a place that's close to you. It's close to me. Found a place where I am servant and you're the king." And it brought so much comfort to me. It was a reflection of this psalm here a place that I could go to and I would find rest, a place that I could go to where he was the king, and I was the servant. And we need that. You need that. You need more than just an escape from life. You really need to find a place that will provide you rest. And as believers, we will find that in the presence of God. Let's continue here in this passage together and look at the next set of verses. He says, not only says, listen to me and lead me and protect me, but then he says, bless me. Those who find refuge in God will rejoice in his name. Once again, David is describing himself not in arrogance, but it says, but let all those that put their trust in thee rejoice. Is that you today? Are you somebody that has put your trust in Jesus? You should rejoice. Let them ever shout for joy, because thou defendest them. Let them also that love thy name be joyful in thee. Have you put your trust in him? Rejoice. Do you love his name? The name being the description of the character of God. If so, you should be joyful today, regardless of what's going on. For thou, Lord, will bless thy righteousness with favor, wilt thou compass him as with a shield. That's how David is seeing this, not as a refuge, but more as a shield, with all the darts and things coming at him. People not only attacking his life, but people that are saying things at him and throwing words and accusations against him. He sees God as his shield and protector. And so we have here, first of all, lead me, O King. He welcomes us into his house to worship, even though we are not worthy. Before that, we saw that we could go to God not by the volume of our voice, not a position in life, but because of who he is, and in that protection. That God cast out all those who only honor him with his mouth. They can't follow you into God's presence. Only you, as somebody that has trusted in him, that love his name, can go into his presence. And so we can find rest there. So in the face of a hate-filled, destructive attacks of his enemy, David has a renewed understanding of the steadfast love of God. That was cause for rejoicing and for calling upon others to share in his joy, and it still is to this day. That is a reason for us to rejoice. You know, back to Armenia and that kid, as that dad was helping the people out from the building that had fallen on them in the earthquake. The way the story goes is that the son says, Dad, let everybody else go first. I will wait, because I know that you will protect me. I know that I am safe. What a childlike faith he had in his dad, that no matter what was going on around him, he was safe where he was at. He had found a peace because of the character of his father. I don't know what you're going through. I pray that some of you that I know will watch this and you're going through hard times, maybe in your life personally. Some of you have lost jobs, and there's just a lot of things going on right now, and you really need a break from it all. You need to be able to go to a place and find some rest. And I can tell you that that is in the presence of God, a holy God, but you're able to go before him because Jesus died in your place. And that has changed our relationship with him. That has reconciled it, has brought us back together with our Creator God. Jesus died in your place, and now there's a great exchange. His life for your life. And you can go to him in prayer. You can go because of multitude of mercy. You can pray to him. And when you go into that presence, all the worries of this life and all the problems that are there and all the enemies that are attacking you and all the things that are coming at you, the chatterbox of your mind can be left behind as you enter into his presence. That's for believers today. Enter into his presence and find rest. You cannot continue at the rate you're going if you don't find rest. Life is busy and it's weary, but the Bible tells us that his yoke is easy. We can go to Jesus. Unbeliever, you might be trying to do your best in life. You may be trying to handle things. You may think that if you work enough or do enough religious things that you'll find that peace and rest that you're looking for. It's not going to be found in any of these things. It's only going to be coming to Jesus through his mercy, recognizing that you're a sinner and that you need forgiveness, and then receiving the mercy that he extends to you today. What an incredible psalm. David had an understanding about God that we should have as we look at it. This should speak for us today. If you're going through a hard time, I want to encourage you to pray this psalm to read through it and to know that this is for you. And rejoice. There should be joy in those that love his name. And how could we not love his name and all that he has done for us?